Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Welcome to Dig on America, where we speak truth to power. Every week, we give you the dig on how American history, policies, and media created the social and political issues we face today. DOA is independent media supported by listeners, but they'll tell you we're just fake news, deep state propaganda, funded by George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, BLM Marxists, and
Randolph and Mortimer Duke.
Cisco.
Heavy D. Terry.
Brian McKnight.
Oh, I'm going to say something.
Yeah.
Anybody
from
villain? Get a good villain.
Kylo Ren.
God damn it. That was mine.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think now.
Who's this week's sponsor, Terry? Is it anybody from pop culture, living, real, or fake?
Hunter Helmsley.
Except Hunter Biden, because he actually does sponsor the show.
Hunter Biden Hemsley.
Oh, Hunter Biden. Oh, okay. I know that.
These are all lies, Terry. They're all lies.
I was going to say President Xi.
Oh yeah, Xi Jinping.
Because that's a conspiracy, I guess.
Well, unfortunately, you've hit too close to home. Now we're banned.
Now
Jenna,
we're not going to get
to...
our check. Yeah, Jenna, what was yours?
For some reason, I said Brian McKnight just because we were talking about old school R&B.
Oh, well, Brian, hey.
Oh,
I love Brian McKnight.
Oh, back at one? Boy, let me tell you. I'm talking about I be going around.
Like a dream come true.
Don't let that come on in the kitchen while I'm cooking. Oh, man. I got the moves with the rag.
You know, they did a country...
Is that
they
how
did a
you
country
get
music remake.
Yes.
What's that?
Yeah, that is how I get. I mean, she hates that song.
All right, well, welcome back, everyone, to
Brother?
Dig on America. It's me, Jason Dutch, here with Big Haas, with Mikey Famine, with the amazing Jena Miyu, and with my man, Terry Lee from Twitter. I don't know if you want me to dox you all the way and give your last name out, but today we are going to talk a little bit about some history. So welcome into the second hour of the show. We're going to get right into it with this week's dig. So this week's dig, we're going to talk about some of the political philosophies of integration for our Black History Month dig this week. And let's just jump right the hell into it and see where this takes us. So now, my 8th grade social studies teacher,
Mr. Humble,
taught me things that turns out after doing my own research wasn't always exactly the whole story. And this week, we're going to dig into the philosophies of integration, focusing on Marcus Garvey, the NAACP, and a little bit of Booker T. Washington. So now, after Reconstruction, many Southern states continued to, and I should say we did Reconstruct, for those of you who want to keep in context with this, maybe if you're listening later, we talked about Reconstruction and then the Great Migration over the last 2 weeks. So this sort of continues that. So after Reconstruction and during the Great Migration, many Southern states continued to treat African Americans as second-class citizens. They implemented Jim Crow laws and required separate schools, restaurants, restrooms, and transportation. This escalated with Mississippi's passage of a new constitution in 1890, and Southern Democrats in other states soon followed suit. They also started creating barriers to voting through complex election rules. Stop me when that sounds familiar. This trend, along with the Lily White movement, led by me, caused the exclusion of most Blacks and even temporarily some poor whites from participation in the political system. Black voters, however, were hit by far the hardest as intended, and Black voter registration dropped. Men who had been voting for decades were told they no longer qualified. Now, in 1901, the Pan American Exposition was held in Buffalo to feature American innovations and achievements, but it also featured an exhibit with a disparaging caricature of slave life called Old Plantation and a depiction of life in Africa, which was called Darkest Africa. An African-American woman by the name of Mary Tolbert was so appalled by this exhibit being so close to home, especially since she had just been to Paris and seen basically a similar exposition there, which positively highlighted Black American achievements. She informed her friend W.E.B. Du Bois of the situation, and a coalition began to form. In 1905, Du Bois assembled a group of prominent African American leaders to discuss the challenges facing Blacks and discuss possible strategies and solutions. Because hotels in the U.S. were segregated, the group had to convene in Canada near Niagara Falls, and as a result, the group became known as the Niagara Movement. A year later, non-African Americans joined the group, led by journalist William English Walling, a wealthy socialist. Walling, of course, never actually died, but thanks to diet-rich, eating a lot of fish oils and avocados and, of course, human flesh, he continues to live today by the name of George Soros and continues to run the world via the deep state, which, of course, funds this very show. Okay, I heard it on Twitter, so I figured it must be.
It has to be true.
Yes. Anyway, this fledgling group struggled with limited resources, which, of course, proves that Soros wasn't involved because, like, he sponsors us. We have tons of resources. As well as internal conflict, probably between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders in the 7th year of the 2016 primary, causing the Niagara Movement to disband in 1910, of course, when Bernie was still a chipper 63 years old. And if you tell me that's not true, I won't believe it. Ultimately, W.E.B. Du Bois and Ida B. Wells joined together to found the NAACP in February of 1909, on the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. And soon, members of the defunct Niagara Movement were assimilated into the newly created organization. Around that same time, another man by the name of Booker T. Washington helped to form schools and educate African Americans in order to improve their status in society. Booker T. Washington's philosophy was centered on the idea of self-sufficiency. Now, after Booker T and Stevie Ray won the WCW Tag Team Championship,
I hate you.
Sorry, different Booker T. I apologize. Booker T emphasized Black economic freedom and argued that Black Americans would gain acceptance by whites and achieve economic stability in society through their skills and through their labor. He promoted the idea of self-improvement and, quote, the dignity of common labor. Sounds very Marxist. In his famous Atlanta Compromise speech of the 1890s, basically he said to white people, y'all do this, y'all do you, and we will do us. W.E.B. Du Bois and the NAACP did not relate to what Booker T was advocating for because they were in the WWF. Du Bois, who was the first, or Du Bois, I heard it said both ways, we'll stick with Du Bois for this, was the first Black man to receive a PhD from Harvard, studied how Blacks lived in America, and his book, The Philadelphia Negro, is considered to be a founding work in sociology. His 1903 book, The Souls of Black Folk, introduced the idea of double consciousness, which captures the cognitive dissonance of the incompatibility between being Black and also being American at the same time. He believed Blacks would be led to prominence by a group of Black elites and assembled that group, much like Steve Rogers, first in the Niagara Movement and later with the NAACP to demand immediate social change, which was far riskier than the angle taken by Booker T. Washington. WEB called this the talented 10th. The NAACP used publicity, protests, lawsuits, and the editorial pages of The Crisis, a newspaper, to attack radical segregation, discrimination, and lynchings. Leaders of the NAACP, such as Thurgood Marshall, pushed forward legal cases to end segregation, and Marshall himself would eventually sit on SCOTUS. Also integral to the movement was Ida B. Wells. Enter Marcus Garvey and the UNIA, which was the largest and most militant civil rights organization starting in New York.
Is that a buzzword? Pause. Did you just dog whistle all of your conservative friends by saying that they were militant?
Yes.
Is that what that was?
Conservative friends?
Oh yeah,
yes,
100%.
That's exactly what
he is.
That's exactly what I did.
Flow state is like right now.
We need to attack now. Arm yourselves. They're coming for us. Anyway,
they've got guns too. Oh my God.
Order 66. Now, as I said, Garvey was born in Jamaica and moved to New York and started basically preaching on a soapbox on the streets, literally. And by 1918, had amassed what he claims to be over 200,000 to 300,000 readers to his paper, quote, "The Negro Word," WRORD. Garvey, who was known to embellish statistics and dress elaborately, is an interesting and controversial figure in Black history. He believed in Pan-Africanism, which emphasizes that Black people across the world experience the same oppression and should join together in a collective fight.
Pause.
His approach differed from the
Pause.
integrationist movement.
Pause. So for everyone who is lovely today and very melanated, how deep or what are your feelings on Pan-Africanism? Go ahead, you're fine.
So Pan-Africanism for Black Americans for a long time up until now has been sort of the default admission that European colonialization within Africa, the Caribbean, as well as the Western Hemisphere has uniquely oppressed us or denigrated Blackness in very similar interconnected ways. Not necessarily the same way, but also that, we share this unity in that. Some Pan-Africanists go so far as to say we need to unite as like an international identity of like, we're all African, we're all this. And then you have a more measured approach that's like, we need to acknowledge this shared experience and camaraderie and community, but we recognize that we are all different and we are all have unique experiences, unique languages, unique this and that. I personally, every February I wear my dashikis, I wear my hats, I wear my West African clothing. I'm proud of my heritage from the continent, but there also is that duality of understanding that, me and my family and culture is uniquely American, and it's okay to be. There's a difference between saying someone is Black with a lowercase b, and then someone is Black with an uppercase b. Uppercase denotes Black American as an ethnicity, where we're here. We have MLK, Malcolm X, all these people. And then lowercase b is Black as in people who come from Africa, people who are descended from that land. Unfortunately, I'm seeing some people who are like trying to denigrate African immigrants and Caribbean immigrants and attack them. That's wrong in my opinion. But I think it's perfectly okay to say, hey, my experience and culture while similar, is very unique, and it's okay. But I don't think, if I'm going to use Pan-Africanism, I'm going to always say like, this is our way of relating to one another, in the same way that I know that a lot of Southeast Asians, a lot of Indians, anybody that Europe has touched relates to one another. I don't think we need to necessarily mean we got to create a unified state. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. What say you, Jena?
I do agree with your last point there. For myself, as far as Pan-Africanism as a reflection of myself, I don't go as far as wearing dashikis or wearing, the pretty much that of my motherland attire or clothing, so to speak, or dive back to that culture. Nor do I even know or identify with, from my own family history of where my family has come from. That's just in the moment, my ignorance. Only in this moment, though I do have a curiosity, and one day I will discover that. But my relation, like you were saying, I don't feel the necessity of just unifying under one type of state or movement. I'm obviously very Americanized and colonized or however you want to phrase it. Thank you. Even deeper for me personally, most would say I'm very whitewashed. Like I grew up being phrased as an Oreo or a person that acts white but looks black. So, a lot of that played growing up and even as an adult now has played into, breaking down and having an identity crisis. What does it mean to really be black? Is there a certain way in which I should act? Or should I be more inclined to celebrate Kwanzaa or, recognize that I should be celebrating Juneteenth appropriately versus how my mother preferred to do it with red soda and tacos. So a lot of that, I'm just only later in life grasping to understand more about it. I wasn't raised up to be more familiar and appreciate those things, even though I would see them only demonstrated in fashion in church through my own mother that, wanted to, during Black History Month, would dress in those attires, even though it had no meaning to her. It was just something to do because everyone else did it in church during Black History Month.
Oh,
so it was just for show.
I know this.
Yeah. So it was just for show, really. No real attachment to it. Versus,
like Nancy Pelosi.
Sure. So
She
there's
did
no
throw some kente cloth.
Yeah, there's no attachment.
I'll comment on that later.
Yeah, no, please. There's no attachment to that. Nor have I been taught to want to explore or do more or attach myself to it. My family never offered that opportunity, nor was I influenced to actually dive into it. So I guess that's just my take personally.
Big hasa ding dong.
Well, as in reference to Pan-Africanism, I think, well, in my readings about Garvey, he believed in Pan-Africanism in the sense of the celebration of African culture and history and everybody getting in touch with their Africans of all stripes, getting in touch with your history, getting in touch with your past, and celebrating that as a means of uplifting yourself from the oppression of the prevailing thought that Black history starts with slavery, especially here in America. He was also a Black nationalist and a racial separatist. So I'm not necessarily in agreement with the racial separation thing. And I know that we're going to talk about that later, and I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah,
because
it's coming up.
Even today there's talk about, well, we'll talk about that when it comes. But he did a lot of great things. I mean, he did a lot of great things. He created the Black Star Line, which is the name,
the cigar line.
It's the cigar line, but the Black Star Line was actually a vessel that passenger line that would carry patrons back and forth to Africa, so they could actually go.
You here talk about that. I bring that up, but I don't talk about what it is. So, because I was trying to keep this short. So when I get to that point, then we'll tell everybody what that was.
And then, hopefully we'll talk about how J. Edgar Hoover smeared him and found a way to get him arrested and eventually deported.
Oh, don't worry, I got that.
Okay.
What does it mean to you? We want to hear about you, Big Hot.
Me and Pan-Africanism. Well, through my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, we closely identify with a lot of things in the African culture. And growing up, we definitely, talked about African culture and things of that nature. And you know, I was one of the people talking about Kwanzaa in 5th and 6th grade, and my Catholic school teachers are like, "What are you talking about?" You know, but so I think I have a closer
slap your wrist
relationship with on a macro level, Pan-Africanism, as far as having that pride. You know, I've got a Pan-African flag, a Pan-African colored beaded necklace with an ankh on it. I've got other, like just today, I had my sweatshirt with Anubis on it and things of that nature. And, you know, I think of it as a person who lives in a predominantly white area. It's a way to have conversations, because a lot of my athletes and a lot of my clients, they'll talk, what is that on your shirt? And then that leads to a great conversation about Africa and Black people and our history and underpinnings as the foundation of civilization in this world. So, you know, for me, it's a little closer for me than Jena, but I'm not a member of X Clan, but I like X Clan a lot, and I like a lot of what they talk about. And, you know, so, you know, I am one. I mean, Dutch and I have all had a few debates about Black people and their contributions to this world and everything like that. So
we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mikey knows with which I speak.
Well, you're talking. Are you talking about the Egyptian thing?
See,
Lord!
Don't start.
Okay.
Don't start. Let's just move on, Mikey.
Mikey, though, you never answered the question.
Yeah, answer that.
Yeah.
I'm late to the game because my life was busy. So now that since I've been on my own and trying to determine what my identity is and who and what and where and all of the basic questions that I was still looking for as in my early 20s. And I was like, man, they talk a lot of shit about Africa. Let me look at it. You know, Africa's dope. It's got its problems just like here, but Africa is dope as shit. And once I found out all the shit I thought about Africa was a bunch of bullshit, then I was like, oh man, hell yeah, Africa. Yeah, I'm African. Yo, Pan-African. I mean, I get it. Yeah, that's man, I got so many Nigerian cousins. You know, Israel Adesanya, Usman, all my Nigerian cousins out there. So it's fam to me. I love it. I love it. And it's one thing that slavery took away from Black people that a lot of people overlook is culture. And it is, and when you lose an entire culture and you have to create another one out of whole cloth, you still feel a void. There's an empty space, an empty a box that is unchecked in your life until you kind of can get a DNA test or do whatever you need to do or get some sort of familial recognizing of where you're from. It's petty. It's not the most important thing, but it's nice to know. And if you don't know exactly, then you can hop on the Pan-African train and then it's all good. But it definitely feels nice to be from somewhere instead of just from a plantation.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that white people have to be accountable for is that we took.
They're not sensitive to it.
No, they're not. But we took the legacy away. Like I can track my ancestry back. I've never really bothered to do it, but I could if I wanted to. You know, do a 23andMe or what's that other one, the family tree one? I forget the name.
Well, you could just talk to your family and go back a few generations.
Yeah, I was going to say Lending Tree by accident.
Heritage, I think.
Yeah, but I can do that. You know, a lot of my Black friends can't, right? Like we know what we're going to find when we go back, and you know, you might be able to find that your DNA came from a couple of different places, but that's not the same of having as a family legacy, right? Where you know, I can tell you, I can see the documents of when my grandfather came from Holland and stuff like that, right? So, you know, I know.
Thank you. Tons of Ancestry.com.
So, yeah, and I don't know why I want to say Lending Tree. like the completely, it's a completely like the most wrong thing that I could possibly be. But anyway, so we have to be able to be accountable for that, for the fact that, you know, not that we have to be like guilty about it. We just have to say, yeah, you know what, it happened, and you have the right to the right to feel however you want to feel about that, because I don't get to tell you how you should feel about something that affected your past, right? And that's why this whole white pride thing fucking irritates me, because there's nothing to be proud about being white. That does not mean I am embarrassed of being white, but like, in order to be proud of something, you have to kind of like you have to be able to achieve something despite a hurdle, right? So I am proud of what some of my ancestors did in a lot of cases. What they did has absolutely zero to do with the fact that they were white. Black pride is relevant because the things that were accomplished in spite of something, that additional barrier that was there, which did have to do with being Black. So can I be proud of my family? Yes. Is it white pride? That's fucking stupid. So anyway, I'll push forward, and then I'm sure. By the way, Terry, this is your first time here. Feel free to yell out pause whenever you want during this.
Oh, okay.
We're about halfway.
Can I pause
halfway through it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just pause me whenever you want.
Oh yeah. Just a pause. I wanted to go back to Haas's point when he said knowing that our history did not begin with slavery. This is something that is fundamental with the Pan-Africanist movement within the U.S. that happened in the 60s and onward. American history has separated within our education system, within how we teach things. It separates a lot of how our ancestors came from and how they integrated. So Pan-Africanism grew as a way for us to claim ownership of our own identities and ownership of our own culture and societies. That tradition of wearing in our churches and during Black History Month and other places, that tradition of wearing these pieces of clothing that's remarkably to West Africa came out from a longing for that. I actually assign a lot of meaning to it. Both of my parents were actually, my dad was a Kappa, my mom was an AKA. I never pledge, but that I do come from that tradition. And unfortunately, we have these modern, I would call them agitators, who are like ADOS and FBA, these people who are basically affirming that our identity is solely linked to slavery and slowly linked to that point. And it's like, we fought over a century to not identify solely with our oppression. You know, like, we're more than our oppression. And that to me is what Pan-Africanism is. It is denying the America white oppression myth that we came here on a boat and endured slavery and then, you know, this and that. Like, no, I know that, but I want to reject. There are a few other people who are like, oh, we came from Egypt or East Africa. I was like, most of us are from West African kingdoms and West African things. I reject a lot of these people who are like, oh, we were Egyptians and and Ethiopia, and it's like, no, like, we have a specific group of people. But another thing is, a lot of those countries and a lot of those kingdoms and a lot of those states no longer exist. We can't. European Americans have the ability to say, I came from England, I came from France, I came from Ukraine. These states still exist in some format or another. Ours do not. And that is
I think they exist, but they've been renamed and raped of their
original. I mean, they've been pilfered and exploited in their own ways, where they had to learn either French or English, stuff like that. Yeah. So you're right, they exist, but there's still a disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to say, like, that to me is what Pan-Africanism is. It's that denial of the affirmation of, like, just like every other American has an immigrant story that existed before coming here, so do we.
Right.
I kicked out the colonizer. Damn it.
The colonizer. He said he didn't hear.
I had to No, I had to ditch the microphone because the phone is almost dead. The perils of podcasting on the road. So now I'm using the
I was just going to say, you look like you're in a hotel room or something.
Yeah, I'm using the native mic on the phone here. So sorry if it doesn't sound. Maybe it sounds better. Who knows? So I will. I'll jump back in. You guys again pause me whenever you want here. So again, Garvey was known to embellish statistics and dress elaboratively, and he's an interesting and controversial figure within Black history. He believed in Pan-Africanism, which we just talked about, which emphasizes that Black people across the world should experience the same oppression, have experienced the same oppression, and should join together in the collective fight. His approach differed from the integrationist movements like the NAACP. Look at that. Hold on one sec here. I guess I didn't touch my computer for a whole hour. There it goes. His approach differed from integrationist movements like the NAACP, and he believed Black people should live separately from whites and, if possible, go back to Africa, where they would have the land and resources to set up their own nation state. He advocated for ending colonial rule, which that part is great, but replacing that colonial rule with his own, going so far as to appoint himself the provisional president of the continent. His views about African people were also troubling, as he believed them to be uncivilized, backwards, and unfit to manage their lands, which of course itself is pretty uncivilized, backwards, and unfit to manage a nation. Perhaps even more striking were some of Garvey's allies, which included the infamous KKK, who in their own way agreed with the idea of having Black people leaving the US and settling somewhere else. This relationship with the KKK, in addition to his negative views of mixed race people, made him an even more divisive figure. Black opposition to Garvey coalesced into what became known as the Garvey Must Go campaign. Supporters of the campaign, including WEB Dubois, intended to unmask Garvey as a fraud. Garvey's platform also prompted the hiring of the first Black FBI agent, who went undercover to infiltrate the UNIA. J. Edgar Hoover referred to Garvey as the notorious Negro agitator. Big Haas.
Once again, Hoover and that damn COINTELPRO and the useful idiots that would agree, to tear down individuals who were seeking to improve, black people's lot in life, especially here in America. And it's, even today you have it, you got your Herschel Walkers, you got your Hodge twins, you got your Candace Owenses out there. And it's very disheartening that the first Black FBI agent, why did he get hired? To snitch on Black people. You know what I mean? It's just
but it's a trend. It's a trend. Like this, what's his name? Who's the Supreme Court right now?
Fucking Clarence Thomas.
God, fucking damn it.
Exactly, right? Like Clarence Thomas exists to just be a white supremacist with Black skin.
Mm-hmm.
Like
literally Uncle Ruckus.
He literally the embodiment.
Shit.
The embodiment. But yeah, go.
I think he really thinks he has revitiligo. I think Clarence Thomas and Ben Carson think that they have revitiligo.
Well, Herman Cain died from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dancing like a goddamn coon. I'm dancing, I'm dead.
He said Herman Cain said COVID didn't exist, and then the next day COVID said Herman Cain doesn't exist.
Right.
And then I don't know who did it. They used his Twitter to tweet like he was a ghost, and they still talk and use him for. I was like,
that's funny.
Good old Herman. So the NIA did actually do quite a bit of positive. They did cater to communities' immediate needs. They addressed issues like voter registration, can use that today, healthcare, education, and promoting economic power through the idea that he coined called the black dollar, economic empowerment. The UNIA collapsed after Garvey was deported to Jamaica for selling a boat called the Black Star Line, which did not belong to him.
It was actually the Orion. The Black Star Line Orion was the name of the boat.
So go ahead and tell us what that was.
Well, it was the boat that was utilized to go back and forth. But he did not have ownership of it. I think he was leasing it or renting it or something like that. And then
it was owned by black people,
like investors.
The movement invested in it and bought a piece of it. Yeah.
Yes. And
so he basically kind of stole from them in a way.
Yes, and he gained a reputation as a swindler, and actually got convicted of I think it was mail fraud, and that's where he went to jail, and then Calvin Coolidge, of all people, commuted his sentence and deported him to Jamaica. So,
underrated president, in my opinion, Calvin Coolidge, not the worst, but anyway. The problem for African Americans in the early years of the 20th century was how to respond to a white society that, for the most part, did not want to treat black people as equals. These three visionaries that we talked about offered three different solutions. Again, just to recap, Booker T. Washington argued for African Americans to first improve themselves through education, industrial training, and business ownership. And what I'd kind of like you guys to do is kind of talk about like which of these three sort of philosophies, or what eclectic mix of them you think has been effective. So I'll get back into it here. Booker T. Washington again argued for African Americans to first improve themselves through education, industrial training, and business ownership, and then felt that equal rights would come naturally and organically later. WEB Dubois agreed
that's why he was a Sigma. Anyway, yeah. I'm sorry.
You wrong for that. You wrong for that. Don't be you wrong for that because you're gonna get Sigmas mad. Don't do that.
My best friend is a Sigma. I love him to death, but I had to get that one in there. I had to.
That little slice of Greek just comes out every once in a while.
The animosity don't never leave. We talked about Washington. W.E. Dubois, quick recap on him. He agreed that self-improvement was a good idea, was also to a degree a proponent of Pan-Africanism, but he said self-improvement should not happen at the expense of giving up immediate social and civil rights. Marcus Garvey believed that Black Americans would never be accepted as equals and pushed for them to develop their own separate communities, ideally in Africa and under his presidency. Also, ironically, all three of these gents, as well as the folks who they sort of paved the way for, which was for like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. In fact, Malcolm X was his parents were in the UNIA. There was both T'Challa and Killmonger were sort of amalgamations for these the three we've discussed, as well as King and Malcolm X. Yeah. So in those comic characters that we all hold so dear. So that is today's dig. So what have we learned from this history, guys, and how does this impact us today? I think I'd like to go with ladies first. Jena, your thoughts.
So you did say that we pretty much have to pick which of the three we personally felt would been the most better option, and then compare it to today. I think
if I want you to say what you think. If it's eclectic and it's a little bit of all three, then you're good.
Well, to be honest, it would just, for me, it would be a blend of Booker T and Du Bois. I would not touch Garvey, to be quite honest. With Garvey's approach, even though appreciated and understood for that time, I think it's not too far fetched in comparison to what we see from white nationalists today. And I think it's just a stretch too far and too extreme for today's times, just because it's like, why are we arguing about which race is more supreme or which race should be separated and mixed races and all that bullshit. No, I don't agree with that. It definitely, I mean, for me, I'm a proponent for education and knowledge and all that stuff. I'm a nurse that works in the health education department and going to school to be an educator myself. So yeah, I'm a huge proponent for that. So Booker T all the way, blended with the fight and the vigor that the NAACP had with the backing of Du Bois, as far as striving for those social rights and social issues and getting ahead of that, while also being educated during that fight.
Terry, you want to go ahead?
All right, so let's all agree that the way that these Black thought leaders existed was a response to their time, right?
Of course.
Booker T. Washington, I believe, was born into slavery and was
Right.
He grew out of that, while the same thing, WEB Dubois, live in a fairly integrated northern city. So they both come from different Black experience backgrounds, and come at with similar rates of discrimination. Marcus Garvey is a little bit different. If MLK inherited Dubois and Malcolm X inherited
Garvey,
what's his name, Booker T.
Well, no, yeah.
Then Louis Farrakhan inherited Garvey.
Garvey. Yeah.
And I think that people need to comprehend that this debate with the because another thing I don't even mention is Garvey was an anti-Semite as well. He didn't like Jews. He didn't like, not only did he view immigrants as less, Africans maybe as lesser or not able to do it. He viewed other people down that way too, and he partnered with them. So that three dynamic has evolved and existed throughout every iteration in Black American history. You have that conversation happening now, where it's a little bit, because of social media, the power is democratized a little bit. So you don't have necessarily big leaders who are the face. But when I think of Marcus Garvey, I tend to think of Tariq Nasheed or Umar's a good example.
Yeah.
Like, those people who are on name is pro-Black, but are really pro-Black, male, straight, non Christian-esque, non-Christian, like the archetype of what is portrayed as like the typical Black male on top. Right.
I called him the Farteps. That's
I'm just saying.
Let me gesticulate my frenulum against your perineum.
Yeah, but they exist in every iteration, and then you have your actual thinkers. I hope Mikey gets a little water. I'll be right back. Then you have your actual thinkers, because like I know people who are like, do we as a community develop by relying on ourselves, not worrying about what white people are doing and how white people are doing they handle business, but just get our own businesses, get our own land, build up on that, build our own hospital, stuff like that. And then you have this other view that's like, we are 13% of the country. White people are burning down our businesses and stuff anyway. We need to ensure that we have civil rights and things like that. And how you see that for W.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey, and Booker T, they're coming out of Reconstruction. Like they're coming right out of, we were just property. That was, we're at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And now they're in their time frame, they're thinking, all right, so we want them to stop, because they're lynching them now. You got to remember that. They're lynching them. They're burning down their businesses. They're trying to reassert authority. So in their mind, they're thinking, how do I survive, not just get my equal rights, but survive white interaction? Because white people don't know how to interact with them. They're no longer property anymore. They got to be human beings. And at the time, I think Booker T made a little sense because he grew up in the South and bore witness to the types of destruction and the types of white animosity that came from his own background. So he understood, he marketed what we would call segregationist ideas because he understood how dangerous the predicament they were in. On the other hand, W.E.B. Du Bois is coming from another Black perspective, which is I would argue more equally, or if not more valid, where it says, well, they're going to do that anyway. We need to get our rights. We need to get our education and social things. Like, we can't just sit on the sidelines and think it's going to be fine if we stay in our homes. They're still going to come in anyway. We're a minority. Whatever happens to them is going to happen to us times 10, i.e. COVID,
Worse
right?
than first. Worse
than first. We're the first one to get it. White people get a cold, we get a flu. And then that evolved. So conditions improved, thankfully. You come up to the 60s, to the 70s, you get MLK, you get Malcolm X, and you get Louis Farrakhan. So you got these three figures. One is saying, I want to have the right to involve myself in the system. And what does that amount to? You get the Civil Rights Act, you get the Voting Rights Act. That was MLK's thing. I cannot we as black people cannot define our destinies if we have no ability to maneuver the levers in the system. He was good on that, and we've seen progress from that. Malcolm X, similar thing, where it's just like he grows up in an atmosphere, in an environment where white men and white people were a danger. They, you have the Red Scare where they infiltrated our movements and they killed us in cold blood. And I mean, and you still elements of that still today.
That happened in the 60s. It happened in the 70s and 80s too.
80s now, and you still have a little bit of that today, right? So you see that debate, but then you get your Louis Farrakhan's, and you get your people who are like gays, Jews, all the stuff. They're saying all that pro-black message, but what they're really trying to do is convince a lot of black people to sort of isolate themselves from like other disadvantaged party groups. And it stops becoming a anti-poverty, pro-black message to we need to close to ourselves and then take over because we're the superior ones. You saw that within the Nation of Islam when they were like, white people come from the devil, and all this sort of stuff. And then we've evolved to now where we don't really have a centralized leader, but we do have camps. And we have camps who are like, we're going to push policy through a political apparatus and we're going to keep it on. And then you have these people who are disaffected with the system, who think that we need to build, buy our own business, do our own thing. And then you have those bad grifting players who are like, Dr. Umar, Dr. Sebi, Tariq Nasheed, these people who are appealing to the disenfranchisement of black people who are upset. And just like how they appeal to, white Republicans and white conservatives, saying those immigrants are invading and taking your stuff, is the same way they appeal to us. They say you're doing bad because all the other groups are against you. So let's coalesce, and then maybe we can work a little bit with the white supremacists sometimes. And ultimately it's bad. So my personal thing, because I keep talking and I don't want to overtalk. My personal view is it's in the details. And it will always be in the details. Thank you, Jena. Always move forward thinking, what do we gain from this? And then after 5 or 10 years, if it's positive, it's positive. I know that Black Americans, after we were 2/3, 66, 67% in poverty in 1965, today we're 78% middle class and upper class. So what does that tell me? That means that getting voting rights and getting ownership of our ability to decide our own destinies and vote for those policies, that was a good thing. That was a great thing. Now, we're not there yet. We're not perfect, but it's just like a scientific method. We got to trial by error, keep going forward. But let's not disintegrate into hating others and domineering over others. But yeah, I've talked enough. So
I've known Terry long enough to know, and it's not been very long, that he does talk. So it's good to have you here because it keeps me from talking. Big Hoss.
Well, when you have complex issues, you have complex solutions. So, for me, it's an amalgamation of all three. Booker T was dead on. We need to develop our own businesses. We need to get our education. We need to have those things. He was wrong where he's thinking that, equality will just come as a natural course of things. The system wasn't set up that way. So how could you think that? WEB Dubois was right as well. And as it comes down to walking and chewing bubblegum at the same time. We can get educated. We can start developing our own businesses and things like that. But we can still say we need ability to maneuver the levers of the system in whatever ways we can. So those immediate social and civil rights are a necessity as well. Marcus Garvey was great at developing community and trying to keep the black dollar in black hands and things of that nature through various endeavors that he championed. His views on immigrants and Jews and Africans and things like that. And I think that eventually what ended up happening is power corrupted him a little bit, and he, the power of green overcame his love of his people. But so as far as community building and things of that nature, we need that. We need to be able to keep the black dollar in circulation in the black community as much as possible. And he's very similar to Farrakhan. He says a lot of things that make a lot of sense. But then there's this side of him that says stuff and you're just like,
but then,
damn, dude, you were doing good. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to ask you, Terry, and this is another opportunity for talk. I wasn't aware of the thought that Dr. Sebi was a charlatan. I was not aware.
So I mean, but you're not. The thing is, we're not supposed to be, because that's how it works. You're supposed to go into. They're presented to you in a very pro-black way, in a very
God rest his soul, by the way. He's passed on, but
yeah, I mean, yeah. So Dr. Sebi, whether you like him or not, he didn't believe in germ theory, right? The theory that there are microorganisms that create diseases and spread, and that those can be interacted with. He didn't believe. He believed that he cured HIV, cancer, all those sort of things.
Right.
And my thing is, these specific diseases have ravaged not just the Black American community, but also the African community as well. And my thing is, you're selling your own products, your own little remedies and oil and water and stuff like that.
Oils, waters, You're on mute. You're on mute.
You're making a buck. You're making a buck. Sorry, my bad. You're making a buck off of believers. So I personally, but I was born in '94, so I know we may be a little different. I personally put him into the. No, I respect you though. I personally put him in the charlatan category because, and I don't know his heart. I don't know. Maybe he believed in these sort of things.
He really did. Right.
Maybe he really believed that. But I put him in the charlatan category because what it did was it convinced a generation of our people to consume and think about our situation in the wrong way. Like, I'm fine. I want our people to succeed, and our people aren't going to succeed if they're doing unscientific stuff. It's the same people who talk about vaccines and stuff, and that they're evil or
Oh
blah,
yeah,
blah, blah. Like, you get what I'm saying?
I've got family members who, you know, oh, all you gotta do is eat this and drink this and
Yeah.
do this and you'll be fine. And I'm like, it's a virus.
It's a virus. Everyone. I mean, but if the hospital's being overrun and people dying isn't evidence enough, I don't know what
healthy
is.
people, previously
Healthy people
considered very healthy, and they're gone.
Yeah.
And you know, okay.
But it hurts our community when we let that happen. So that's where I put it. But I'm gonna end on that. Yeah.
Okay, Mikey.
Not gonna lie, I forgot the question.
Which of these people we talked about in the dig do you think was most right as far as promoting and being a proponent of things that would be effective in helping the Black community?
I kind of I hesitate to say this, but I kind of like Dutch's idea.
I know.
Oh, it doesn't taste like acid.
Giggity.
That
you want some Tums? I got some Tums.
Yeah, if you got some Pepto or something, because that's my gut is all a mess now. But like the Black Panther analogy is kind of good, but like the end of Black Panther analogy, where T'Challa kind of had to realize, like, yeah, me just staying over here is some bullshit. So I like the idea of the internal struggles leading into the betterment of everybody. Like, I want everybody to fight. I just don't want us to tear each other down to the point where we have nothing left to build with. I want all of the ideas thought about in some sort of on a platform that is logical and data tested and safe. Because I like, as much as everybody says, oh, well, they're doing this, we're going to rise up to it. I'm like, and they're going to mow your black asses down with machine guns. Let's think of another idea.
Right.
Well, we can go do this.
We can't January 6th.
Yeah, that's not going to work out how you think it is.
No, not for us.
It is going to go poorly for you. So what is the safest, most effective way of getting what we need done? And I think you'd have to pick from all three of them, because my whole plan has been radicalizing these white kids. Boy, is it successful. I got them all loving blacks. It's easier than selling water to a whale. It's the best. But allies are important. And everyone wonders how the LGBTQ plus community is getting all this stuff done and getting all the. That's because they have allies with everybody. There is some pigment enhancement for them, but most of it is because a lot of common-minded people are all, you know what, let me take one step out of my way and make sure that this gets done. And look what happens. But as soon as it's us, we can't even agree on what has to happen. And then as soon as someone says, I will step out, it's like, oh, you're going to just step over there. And you know what I mean? Like the infighting gets to the point where we just fight about what not to fight about. Mm-hmm. And nothing gets done.
I want to pause on that real quick, because I think a problem in our community is when we talk about the LGBTQ community, we often quote them as something different, as if their success is not also our success. There's a lot of black LGBTQ who benefit from protections by trans protections, gay protections, and I always, whenever I hear a black person say, well, when they got a little bit of their progress, where's ours? I'm thinking they are our progress, because our community
that goes back to the generations long disdain of blacks towards the LGBTQ community, and I fight against that in my friend groups all the time.
My family. Yeah.
I'm lucky that it took my aunt a long time, but she actually got on board with it a lot more, because there's a lot of I know no one in here's I don't know if anyone in here is super religious, but there's a lot of new, more inclusive movement that kind of brought her over to it, and she sort of relearned how to utilize empathy and comprehend things in her own way. But like that's just it always like kind of irks me a little bit when I come into black spaces and they go, well, those gay kids over there where they got their due. And I was like, those gay kids are your children. They're your, people. This affects you just as much as anything else. So yeah, I just wanted to say on that. But yeah, go on, Mikey.
No, even more so, because not only are they the gay kid, they're the black gay kid. So they should be, at least they should be the closest to our bosom and underneath our wing and safe from harm. But no, just throw them out. Just throw them away. If your kid turns out gay, just throw them out. Just leave them be. Just don't help them. Just banish them. You better stop with all that stuff. And then you got you remember what's that video? The kid lives in St. Louis. It's like the Delivered.
I'm delivered. I'm not gay no more. I don't like memes.
I don't like memes no more.
All that MAC lip gloss he had on.
He had like relapse and stuff like that. I mean, that's just in 100, 200 years, that's not going to be an issue anymore. Like people
I hope not.
I don't think it'll be, because it'll just be too. They did the census, and 20% of I think it was it Gen Z, Gen X? What's the youngest one? Gen Z. 20% of Gen Z is like, I'm LGBTQ identifying. So it's like, I think this is just a culture issue that's going to phase itself out. But it's one of those things that we got to do the work now for a better future.
Right.
Everything we do now is just for future generations. Right?
Yeah.
Bob, you got to go.
Bye, Jena.
I do. I was politely trying to put my hand up.
Yeah.
Bye, Jena.
Speak.
You're gonna miss the humidor.
Was that a I want to speak, or I gotta go?
I want to speak to say I have to go.
Oh.
So the answer was yes, just Dutch.
Right. Yes. No, I appreciate this conversation. It was it gave me a lot to think about, and Terry Lee, you can go off as much as you want, because I love and enjoy listening to you, sir. So thank you. Pleasure to meet you. And I'm happy to have returned. And I promise I won't stray too far away.
Do you have a Twitter handle?
Better not.
I do. I'll put it in the private chat for you.
She's tagged in the same tweet I sent out right before the show.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So
yeah. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, I think that obviously this minute, and thank you, Jena. We always love having you here. And you've been a great supporter of the show, so thank you. But I think the one thing that I'll just add to this is this.
Okay, she's gone. Let's talk about her.
Yeah, is Jena is a problem.
Hot.
She is quite attractive.
A lot of times, I think one of the things that Garvey ended up hurting a little bit, and there are people who say Fred Hampton came from his lineage. I disagree with that. I don't think that's this. I don't agree with that at all. Just for the record, Fred Hampton, he might not have been a perfect individual, but I'm not aware of any group that Fred Hampton propagated. So I reject that. I've always rejected that. I've heard people say that a lot. Well, Fred Hampton was the next Marcus. No, he was treated the same way by the FBI, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Right. So
any person that was coalescing blacks to advocate for their rights and advocate for especially economic rights.
They did that's to MLK.
That's why
too.
MLK, because when MLK started talking about, okay, we got the Civil Rights Act, we got the Voting Rights Act. Now let's turn to this anti-poverty stuff.
Poor people's campaign.
But here's where Garvey hurts the conversation. So he started out the whole go back to Africa. We'll go back to Africa thing that the KKK was echoing. And what it's done now is it's added, like, you will have people in conservative spaces and conservative podcasts and just at church, and people who I know, unfortunately, who are in a way related to me, who have said straight out, they don't like it, they should go back to Africa.
If you don't like it, leave.
And I'm like, and some of them will often.
They didn't like it, and they stormed the Capitol.
Right, and some of them will often cite Garvey, like the more eloquent ones, right? They'll cite Garvey and sort of underhand it, right?
Right.
But the problem becomes that, and this is where it's incumbent on white people, and I will also add whiter Hispanics, like you know what I'm talking about, like the Hispanic people who you wouldn't really know if they're Hispanic or not. They have to realize that this country was built by Black people, literally. Now, the entire country was not built by Black people. You have to give a lot of credit to Asians, especially the Chinese, who built a lot of this nation as well. And then there were other European immigrant groups who came here as well. But Black people were taken and made to do it, and then you want to tell them to go home. So there's two problems with that. One is they are United States citizens. So you are literally telling someone, if you don't like America, then you can go. But the issue with that is that they're saying we don't like the America that they like, right?
Right.
The one that they think is acceptable. Because I hear these right wingers all the time complaining and bitching about Joe Biden, about this, that, and the other, about CRT, about masks. You don't like it, go. So it's that they think that the conversations that are centered around liberal ideas, civil rights ideas, etc., those are so foreign to them that they're like, you can leave if you don't like it. But then they view their own capsule of things that they don't like as being okay, because to not like, and I don't have to leave because I don't like the government. But you hate the government so much, then go somewhere where you like the government.
Ireland or Germany or Poland or Italy or Spain or
wherever you
go back there.
But my
that
thing
idea,
is,
that idea to them becomes so that it's so abrasive because they don't even think about it. Because the problem becomes is that they literally don't view people who don't, and I don't think it's completely skin color. I think it's level of assimilation.
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. People who don't assimilate to the idea that they have created can go. And the difference that we have on our end is, and this is the part that fucking flabbergasts me, we're fighting for them too. They don't fight for us.
They don't understand that.
They only fight for themselves.
Yeah, they don't
but
understand
we are literally
that
fighting for them.
Police reform helps them.
Yeah. Well, there's and there's studies to this. There's so much attention that goes, it's like Chicago is dangerous, New York is dangerous. The actual violence is happening in these rural white areas.
Oh yeah. And I dare someone to show me an affluent Black area that has the same violent crime rate as a poverty-stricken white area.
And they don't get that, and they don't understand that there's a lot of, and not just gun crime, but drug crime and all sorts of other factors. There's, when the Republicans in charge, their state tends to be poorer, it tends to be dilapidated. There's a lot of issues, and to Dutch's point, a lot of these people have promoted this sense of false, fake patriotism. Of saying, I love America, I love the country, but like, do you? You don't love the people, you don't love the laws,
self-titled patriots.
Yeah. You don't love the clothing or the culture or the diversity. You love it?
Oh, but they love to put their American flag on top of a Punisher logo.
Well, but they keep throwing this idea of America is a melting pot. If it was really truly a melting pot, then when someone moved into your neighborhood from, say, Syria, right?
Let's make it put your house on the market.
Let's make it as different as possible, right? No, they wouldn't. So, because here's the funny thing, and I've said this a lot of times before. I hope my audio is not that bad, but the funny thing is this. I was having a conversation. This is kind of related, kind of not. because I know we got to wrap up, but we're about the church, right? A predominantly white church, like a church we just started going to, there's probably like 15 or so black people at that church. Out of, I would say it's maybe 6%. I'm just guessing, right? That's probably, they're somewhat comfortable with that amount, right? It's the same like if an Asian person or a Muslim person moved on your street, most white people are perfectly fine with that. When they start to become the minority is when you start seeing the problems, or they get close to the minority because they no longer feel that that particular environment becomes the environment that they're comfortable with. So take your own advice, melting pot. But that doesn't meet their description of what a melting pot is, because their idea of a melting pot is, and I'm guilty of this sometimes too, is you're melting into what I believe America is, instead of changing it just that little bit to make it something new.
It's salad bowl versus melting pot, and a lot of it, what they call is that, do our flavors mesh together even though we're different fruits and vegetables and things like that, or are we begging for the assimilation of the people who come here? And when we think of those like conservative minded people, the reality is, and I consider this partially a good thing, the white population is shrinking. It's no longer 80%, 90% dominated, that it used to be. White population now is at, it's in its 60-ish%, 13% black, about 8% Asian, and the trends are only getting less and less white. And what I think what a lot of white people are starting to wake up to is the fact that in 50 years or 60 years or so, they're actually going to, by population, share like a smaller portion. They're not going to be the plurality anymore. And that is going to have a lot of political power dynamics that I don't know if they're ready to see, because you're not going to just see white TV and white actors, white makeup, white clothes, white this. You're going to truly see diversity on a level that a lot of these areas that tend to vote Republican, tend to vote conservative, are really not accustomed to. Like they're fighting it now because they have to deal with it online. But it's real right now. Right now, they're fighting it really hard. But it's inevitable. You're just not reproducing at the rate necessary to maintain that. And a lot of that comes with the fact that if you know how population statistics work, the richer your population, the more educated the female population, the less babies you have. And it just so happens that because it's almost like you did your worst enemy. White people have acclimated so much wealth into their demographic that it is impacting how many babies and how many reproduction it has, while the other demographics don't have that problem. Either they're immigrating here or there may be lower socioeconomic income, so they're repopulating a little bit more. It's just demographic shift. So I hope most people just kind of deal with it and accept that you're going to shrink a little bit and you're going to share a little more power. But some people aren't taking it very well. And you can see it. You got Jan 6, you got Trump, you got the modern conservative movement.
And I think that's kind of what they've, hold on, dude. Yeah, I think that's kind of what they've been defending all along. It's not the American way, it's the white way. They're protecting whiteness as a I don't know, subtype, a subclass of Americans. It's whites. It's those immigrants from Europe who left for whatever reason, who have inherited the slave owners' land, and now they think, well, all this is mine now, and we're not going anywhere. Well, science says otherwise. People's emotions say otherwise, and the increasing morality of our Constitution says otherwise. You can't just okay whatever you want anymore. Now you're going to have to actually do things, and like we said earlier, I know this is a travesty, treating people like humans. So now you're going to have to live in a society where you are no longer the majority. They say, the hell I will. I don't care if I'm not the majority anymore. I'm still going to act the same goddamn way, and y'all not getting rid of me. Well, I mean, here's the fight. This is the fight. So good luck. But my little mixed babies is going to be, they're going to be cute. Your little ugly racist kids, they ain't going to stand a chance. They'll never get a girl.
Well, you're also seeing, and I'll just real quick, two things. You're seeing real conversations. There was a conversation I saw today. People in Alberta want to leave the United States. They want to leave Canada and join the U.S. because they feel that they don't like the politics of Canada, so they want to become their own country and then join the U.S. to give the U.S. 2 extra senators and keep that majority, right? They literally were talking about this in the space, although we still let Puerto Rico in. They're not, but anyway, but yeah. And then as far,
Alberta,
and then my last, yeah, and my last point on assimilation is this: like when we go to other countries, and Terry, you know this, like when we set up our, we have folks that go overseas and work, you know, they'll set up, especially in the Middle East, they'll set up communities for white people. We don't go there and assimilate to Muslim culture. We go there and we set up a separate community, and we have Western culture in that community. And then
it's true. It's true.
But we don't expect the same here. We expect you to come here and be like, well, because our culture is the best, it's Judeo-Christian culture, and et cetera, et cetera. So with that being said, I know it's getting late. We all got to roll. Mikey, do you have any message that you would like to, well, actually, do you want to do the message first, or do you want to play the game with Terry? Which would you like to do, Mikey?
If I'm guessing, let's do the game. Let the games begin.
All right.
Bum, bum, bum.
Terry, we're going to play one last quick game with you.
Una vez más, okay.
You probably have played this game in a different way before. This is called Prank One, Marry One, Snap One. We will give you 3 people. You will choose one to prank call, one to marry, and one to snap away like Thanos. You have to choose. You cannot pass on anyone. Hassa, you go ahead and go first. Give them your obscure model that you won't know.
That only was in one Jet magazine,
yeah.
Released in Brazil in 1983.
Letitia Wilson Phillips.
Y'all don't know her?
Michelle Yeoh from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I need to look these people up. I'm
God
sorry.
Damn it! I figured you know that one. I figured you would know that one.
I may know them, but I need a
Damn it.
I won't know these names because y'all are saying
try
something
Try again. Right. We'll go until you know them.
Do you watch? Have you watched Book of Boba Fett?
No, I don't have a what's it on?
Oh, that's right. You don't watch TV. Shit.
No, I watch TV. I just don't. I only have Netflix on me.
Okay. Let me go first then.
Yeah, you go first. You know him the best. You should.
I don't know the actress's name. So I'm going to look it up real quick. But if you have Netflix, have you watched Raising Dion?
I want to start. I haven't yet. Just just name someone popular. I'll get it.
Well, you might know the actress. Alicia Wainwright. You know who that is?
Alicia Wainwright.
What the hell?
Oh, he doesn't know that.
Right.
He doesn't know that? Okay. It's the lead actress on all right, so let me pick
cute. Okay. What was it?
All right, but you don't know who that is. So let me pick.
You gotta wait.
I will go with a oldie but a goodie. Salma Hayek, who was in an amazing Super Bowl commercial the other last week.
Was just
at
looking
fucking
so
56,
good, man. Jesus
looking amazing.
Christ.
I'm bringing it.
Terry-
I'm bringing it.
Hayek.
right. Salma
You
Hayek.
don't even know Salma Hayek?
Salma
Look at her
Hayek,
picture.
you
Look at her
know.
picture. You'll know her. You'll know her.
Oh, she's very well endowed.
Okay,
Wait,
so you got
you gotta get all three, and then you give.
Yeah,
us
Okay,
all
so
three.
it's snap, marry, kill.
No,
No.
I would
Snap,
never say that.
Prank.
So
Prank.
it's prank, marry,
Snap.
snap. Now what is snap? And I'm just like, oh, snap.
Like Thanos.
Thanos.
Because we would never say the
I
K
think-
word because that
No,
would
no, you
violate
can't.
terms
You
of
can't
service.
say it until you get
Have
all
you-
three.
Have you watched Avengers Infinity War?
I'm getting around to it. I don't hurt. I know the characters. I know the people. I know the plot. I know the plot.
So there, snap means you're snapping them out of existence.
Yes,
can't
I
say
know
the
that.
kill-
I know that. The
we
Thanos
can't say
snap.
the
I
kill
know
word.
that. I know.
Okay,
Okay.
you know the Thanos
All
snap. Okay,
I know
good.
the
Let's
Thanos
go.
snap.
Let's
I
go.
know.
All right. So
I'm
Salma
gonna- I
Hayek
have a-
is not.
I
number
Salma
one.
Hayek. All right. Give
I
me
have
next
a good one, and I think I got you guys. Regina King.
Oh, I like her. I mean, okay, all right, I got it. Okay, I got her. Second, next.
Last toss go.
I am gonna go with. Oh shit! You might not know her.
Give him Kamala Harris.
No, I was gonna say Paula Patton.
I'm changing mine to Kamala Harris.
I'm changing mine to Paula Patton.
No, you're not.
No,
Paula
I'm
Patton.
changing mine. I officially changed mine to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, Regina King,
Well, fine.
and
No, fine. Then I officially
You know who
changed mine
Paula
to
Patton
Rihanna.
is? She used to be married to Robin Thicke.
you officially changed yours to
Paula.
Rihanna.
Paula Patton.
Yeah, Patton.
Mhm.
Right. He doesn't know who that is either.
Oh,
so-
she's a little older, isn't she?
Not
Okay.
necessarily.
He's Terry.
Oh, no,
Terry's
she's not.
officially,
I don't really know her.
Terry is officially the hardest one we've had, but we'll go with
Giggity.
we'll go with Kamala Harris,
Rihanna.
Rihanna,
Okay,
and
Rihanna.
Regina King. Those are your three. Hot struck out. He did 0 for 3.
So it's snap, marry.
Frank.
No, prank.
Right.
It's on the bottom of the thing, the ticker there.
Prank. Okay, so it's prank. Am I just like pranking them with the?
Yes, definitely not the F word.
Oh, okay. All right, euphemisms. Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right. I would marry Kamala Harris. She deserves someone.
Damn it.
I think that she's a wonderful human being. I love her. I love what she does. I prank Rihanna. Although I do not approve of her choices in men. I think she can do way better than ASAP.
She never called me back. I don't know what that was.
And then so I just think, why can't Rihanna get with men who care about? I don't know. I just like.
Yo, Joel Embiid shot his shot. He tried.
Yeah, I don't get that. Anyway,
I've heard ASAP treats her very well, though.
I mean, even though all right, but you remember what he did over in Europe. You remember what he said. And I remember stuff like that. And I was like, Rihanna,
He's too cute. She forgot all about that. He too
but
cute.
she already pregnant now. It's like she does makeup and has a baby. She can't make an album. Come on.
No, she got that album. She knows
where's the album? Like Era's like album. Like I like make
I
some
want it. Can I please hear it? I know you
She's
done.
a billionaire now. She ain't got time for that.
No,
She's done with it
Beyonce
already.
got time for it.
I guarantee
Beyonce
you that.
can do an album. Why can't she?
I guarantee you that album is done already.
Adele can do an album still. Why can't Rihanna? Anyway, but thank y'all for having me on. Thank you, Dutch, for inviting me. I gotta use the restroom, so I'm gonna head out. See you all.
I spared you by not giving you AOC. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate you, brother. I could have been mean and gave you AOC, and Rashida Tlaib.
And quick correction: the kente cloth that the Congress people were given was given to them by the Congressional Black Caucus. And then the same day they got that cloth, they introduced the George Floyd Act. So just saying, it wasn't symbolism. They were getting legislation.
Who was standing in front? Who was kneeling in front of that
Because
triangle? Who
she's
was
the
in the
House
front?
Speaker.
Mm-hmm.
They
She is
asked
the
her
House
to do
Speaker.
that. They asked her to do that. Black
Very,
people asked her to do that. I'm
very convenient.
being extra because this is how
Terry, we love you, brother.
I'll see
We'll
you.
see you soon.
I'll see.
All right,
We
he's
got
gone. Let's talk about him. I love it. And speaking of supporting Black-owned businesses, patreon.com/dig on America. Give us your money. I know you got your refund check on direct deposit. I already know you got it. And if you haven't gotten it yet, you're going to get it soon. So you're going to go to patreon.com/dig on America. Give us, I don't know, $1,000 a month, whatever you think is fair.
Yeah, pennies.
Just
For $1
billions
a
of
day, you could support these precious co-hosts of this show.
We need more internet.
Yes.
We already lost
For
that.
$5, we'll send you pictures of the co-host of your choice, along with a handwritten letter from them explaining how your money is helping them. We could buy the tips for shoelaces and take these plastic bottles off our feet and use actual shoes.
I mean, we're gonna have to. And to speak more on our tragedy, I accidentally pulled one of my strings through my hoodie.
Oh, damn.
You know, there's not a worse feeling than that.
I know.
You know? And
He's
it was
over there singing
Nardo
my heart.
hoodie.
He over there singing My Heart Will Go On right now.
I got Sarah McLachlan. She's warming up in the other room. I'm about to do "In the Arms of the Angel." But yes, and if you are not in a financial situation to help us out, that's cool. We get it. Times are tough. But you can do a lot of stuff to help us out for free. Follow us on Twitter at Dig on America. You can hit us up on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dig on America. Same thing on Facebook, same thing on YouTube. All right. So for Big Haas, for Mike Famine, and for Dutch, who just couldn't get his shit to work today, man. Just couldn't get it. We bid you adieu. Goodbye. See you next week. Don't blow up anything while we're gone.